In this video, I'm going to talk about what it's like to use the Garmin Vivoactive 4, or any wearable for that matter, as your primary bike computer, which I've actually been doing for mountain biking for the past month or two. The trip that I just went on up to North Carolina, I didn't even use my Garmin Edge 830. I just used this, and there's a few reasons why, and that's what I want to talk about in this video. I'll first of all say that I am fully entrenched in the Garmin ecosystem. I'm an Android user, and from what I've heard from people who use Apple products, I use an Apple iPad, which is what I edit a lot of my videos on. But I've heard like once you get into the ecosystem, it's hard to get out. But I really like being in the Garmin ecosystem because of a few reasons. One is I like the app on the phone, and I like that all of my devices. So I have the 1030 Plus, which I'll do a review on soon. I have the 830, and I have the Garmin Vivoactive 4. Also, the route planning on Garmin's website is something that I use because it's gotten better over the years. So again, I just like the fact that all of my devices connect to the app on the phone, and then I have my Garmin account synced to Strava, so everything is just automatic. I finish a ride and then it goes to Garmin and goes to Strava. But let's talk about the Vivoactive 4. Now, the Vivoactive 4 is not Garmin's like highest end wearable. They make the Enduro, and they make the Phoenix and the Forerunner. And so the Enduro is like 800 bucks, and I really actually want to try that one day, but I've been totally happy with the Vivoactive 4. I also use this for kayaking, and so it's nice to just have one device that I use for mountain biking and for kayaking. Now, I do wish that there was a kayaking activity on the app. They have stand-up paddleboarding and rowing, so what I do is I use stand-up paddleboarding, and then I have to go into my Strava account and go to that activity and change it to kayaking because I want it to be accurate. But the reason that I've been using this for mountain biking lately, and a lot of people have asked me this, like what is it like to use this Vivoactive 4? And the reason that I like using it for mountain biking is because I don't have to think about changing it from one bike to the other. So the 830 now, I pretty much just keep on my cross-country bike, and I like this computer a lot. But for mountain biking, all I'm really doing is tracking my ride and then checking my time and distance from time to time. I'm not looking down and monitoring my power or heart rate or speed. That doesn't really matter to me. I just start the Vivoactive 4 when I start my ride, and I just like keeping track of all of my activities. I like going back on Strava and just like comparing like what I did last year or something like that. But you know, there's all kind of reasons why people like tracking their activities. But yeah, that's what I use it for. Now, for my gravel riding, I really like this 1030 Plus. Now, I had the 1030 before this, and I've just started using the 1030 Plus, and I'll do a review on this after I get some more time with it. This is different. In this situation, I am looking down and monitoring. Like, for example, I did a 64-mile gravel ride this morning. I had a route that I had planned, and what I do is I have just a library of routes on Garmin, and when I'm planning a ride, I look at the wind direction, how long I want to go, find the route on my phone, send it over to here wirelessly, and I have a video on how to plan a route and get it to your Garmin wirelessly. I'll drop that below if you want to know how to do that. But like today's ride, I was following a route, and then at one point I was doing a few intervals, a few lactic acid threshold intervals for 10 minutes at a time. And I was looking down and monitoring my power. So in those situations, I really need to look at the data while I'm riding. So again, 1030 Plus has a big screen. I can put a lot of data on it. So looking at the route, looking at the power, looking at my heart rate. The nice thing about the Vivoactive 4 is you can pair other things like the heart rate monitor, the speed sensor. You can even pair the Varia. Oh, that's another reason why I like the 1030 Plus for gravel riding, is because I use the Varia. And personally, I think if you ride on a road at all, you should have the Varia. The more I use it, the more I think that is literally a lifesaver for people. And so you can pair the Varia with this, but it doesn't make a beep, and it's a subtle vibration, which is not too hard to detect, but this is an audible beep, and then it's much easier to see the cars coming up. And I have a whole review on the Varia. I'll put that in the description below too. So you can pair the Varia to this, but to me, the more important devices is the heart rate monitor and the speed sensor, especially for mountain biking. The speed sensor is one of those things that your distance is a lot more accurate with the speed sensor than just using GPS. Speaking of which, the GPS on the Vivoactive 4 has been, I've found it just as accurate as the 1030 or the 830 and the 1030. I haven't really done like an in-depth comparison. Maybe I'll do that one day, but I don't have any problems with the GPS on the Vivoactive 4. The only thing other than looking at time and distance, from time to time, if I'm in a hard ride, I may want to look down at my heart rate. But what's nice about this is on one of the data screens I have, you can bring up the heart rate as just one screen. Now, like I said in one of the reviews that I did on the Vivoactive 4, the heart rate is not accurate for heart rates above like 100, 120. In those cases, if you're serious about monitoring your heart rate, you need to have a heart rate monitor strap. Pair it to this because it works really well. One other thing that I'll mention about this is it's proved to be extremely durable. Not only is it waterproof, and one of the only gripes I have is it doesn't use a common charging port. It uses Garmin's proprietary port, but I think that's because of the waterproofing. So I wish it had USB-C, but it probably would not be as waterproof as it is. Like I said, I use it for kayaking, and you know, I'm rolling my kayak over and not worrying about this. I'll get out of my kayak and go snorkeling. So, you know, it's nice to have that waterproofing, but this has been extremely durable. There is not one scratch on this screen. This is probably one of the only watches that I've ever owned that has not been scratched. I've even had a crash on this. Now, I don't think I hit the watch because there's no marks or anything on the metal around it. But as far as durability of the Vivoactive 4 has been excellent, which actually surprised me a little bit. So yeah, that's just a discussion on what it's like to use a wearable like the Garmin Vivoactive 4 as your primary bike computer. One of the biggest benefits, like I mentioned earlier, is not having to worry about switching it from one bike to the other. So I've got 3 mountain bikes. Sometimes I have 4 in my fleet if I have a demo. I'm not having to look down and monitor data like I do on a gravel ride with the 1030. So this, in my opinion, it is a really good value. I mean, it's a little over 300 bucks. If the Enduro or the Phoenix fits into your budget, go for it. But I think most people will be happy with this as your wearable bike computer. And like I said, I use it for kayaking. If I'm going on a hike, I'll just use it for the hike. Oh, and let me just mention battery life. So I found on a bike ride with other sensors paired to it that I get it uses about 7 to 10% battery per hour. So you've got plenty of battery. Of course, you got to remember to charge it, but that's with any of these. So I end up charging this thing about once, maybe twice a week, unless I'm using it a lot for mountain biking. Then I'm charging it probably every 2 or 3 days. So that's my update on the Vivoactive 4, using it as my primary bike computer. Again, answering questions that people have asked about this. Any other questions that you have about it? Drop those below. And like I said, I'll put some other videos that I made on this in the description below. Thanks for watching.